Welcome to Closing Day. My name is Jeff Delgrand. I'm your host. And Closing Day is a real estate show that's all about real estate. We cover everything on this show to do about real estate, buying, selling, investing, home inspections, you name it, we do cover it on this show. Our goal in this show is to give you information that will help save you time, save you some money, make your whole real estate experience more enjoyable. Now this show is a little bit more in depth than most because we're going to talk about real estate investing but in a more in-depth way. And to help me with that, I've got Sandy Brown, real estate agent from RE/MAX, and his son Spencer Brown, who have done this hands-on investing in a more in-depth way. And we'll get right into what you did, how you did it, the different stages. But I want to back up right to the beginning of, maybe tell us a little bit about it and whose brainchild it was.
Well, Spencer and I have been talking about real estate investing for years. And, you know, I've been a realtor now for 12 years. And through that time, I talked to Spencer about different, deals I was involved with. And I know that it's difficult for young people to get into the real estate market. So
Definitely.
I was looking for an opportunity that would fit his salary and his situation right now. And, we were very fortunate to find a home up in Shelburne that was at the low end of the price scale at the time.
Okay.
This was in December 2016. Happened to catch the market when, it was holiday time. People weren't looking necessarily that much at that point.
Right.
And managed to buy a detached home in Shelburne for just under $250,000, which, you can't do it anymore.
Right,
it was
right.
Now that house had we had a home inspection on it, and when if I had received that home inspection and representing a typical client, I might have told them to walk away.
Oh, really?
There was yeah.
Okay.
Now, because Spencer and I, were looking for a challenge, and we were prepared for some sweat equity and to get into something, and because the price was so low, we forged ahead after much thought. I mean, we did think about it seriously. We read through the inspection report and realized that there was a lot of work to do. So,
what was your thought on that?
Yeah, I think the due diligence portion is a big one, right? It was a challenge, and we took on a problem that no one else wanted to, right? And yeah, that home inspection report, I had kind of laughing in my head. It was like 20 pages of just stuff that was wrong.
But that's all part of the analysis of deciding whether to make a right?
Yeah, if I could go back, like, I had a couple $1,000s left over, and I was, read books on investment, maybe when I was 16, 17, 18. So I've always been interested in it. But then, real estate, my dad was in it. And the thing with investing is you need to have specialized knowledge. And if you don't have specialized knowledge, you need to get someone else that does, or else it's not really investing, right?
Okay, yeah, it's gambling.
It's speculating, it's gambling, right? So, you got to have that specialized knowledge, and then you got to do your due diligence. And so the home inspection was part of that due diligence. And I had some, previous experience, crunching numbers and doing spreadsheets. And when I ran the numbers, it was a good deal, right? And of course, we did run into some unexpected issues, but we had enough margin there that we could take those on.
So what was your plan? You found this, what you felt at that time was a good investment opportunity with good potential. But what was your plan to do with this house?
It had 2 units already established, so it was already a potential rental property, although it wasn't being used at the time.
Were they legal units or not?
No.
Okay, all right.
There was a ground floor bachelor, and then the balance of the house was a 2-story standard, 2-story detached home. So, our intention was to renovate it, get some good tenants in, and have positive cash flow. And as it turns out, that's what happened. Now, we did spend more money than we had anticipated originally, but I think the end result was very good. We refinanced. We were able to take out some of the money that we had invested, and with your help.
Yeah.
And the tenants that we have been very good. I know that there's some things going on right now with new tenancy agreements that the province is not forcing, but I guess they are forcing, but that both landlords and tenants have to accept now. It's simplifying, I guess, the tenancy agreement, but it seems to be swinging, I think, again towards the tenant in terms of the rules and regulations that are part of an agreement. But we have got some good tenants. We're quite happy with it.
So far.
And one of the other interesting things that happened at the time was that when the inspection was going on, I was walking around outside and I saw across the road there were 2 houses on the same size lot as this house was.
Oh.
And it got me thinking, is it possible to sever a lot from this property? And we started the process talking to the town planner. And also, let me back up again. When you're looking to invest, it's nice to find a municipality that's cooperative and that are easy to work with. And the smaller towns tend to be that way.
Right.
We had, we met with a number of people at the town of Shelburne, including the planning department and the clerk and fire chief, all were part of this process, and was a nice experience all around. We were treated very well, and we've ended up with a valuable piece of real estate now.
Well, I think the thing that you want to do probably everything you do is try to make a win-win, right? So,
right.
We took kind of a crap house and beautified it, right? And now we've got happy people living there, and we're severing the land, and we're going to build, another house, and going to improve the neighborhood.
It's kind of like the goose that laid the golden egg. It just
well, yeah, it's going to be good for us, but I think it's going to be good for everybody. So that's
we've created some affordable housing. The house was in a dilapidated condition. I don't think anybody spent any money on it in 20 years. So we did bring the level of the neighborhood up in the immediate area by
honestly, under 10, but over 5 people came up to me walking their dogs when we were working on it. And they said, "Wow, it looks really good."
Oh, really?
I don't think anyone said thank you, but I could see it because they hated walking by that piece of crap every time they're walking their dogs. So we really felt that the neighborhood appreciated it.
Yeah.
Which on top of our investing, we did well for ourselves. It's really nice to have a win-win, I guess.
All right, so you bought the house, you did the initial analysis, did some numbers, you crunched some numbers,
Yep.
It made sense. You got into the renovating. Now, I did touch on the fact that it wasn't a legal apartment, but it is now, so you had to go through that process. What was that? Is that a hard process to go through? Is there a lot of steps?
It can be, and it's different in every municipality.
Okay.
For us, it was pretty much done
Yeah?
for us. So that was something we looked at before purchasing, how much actually needs to get done
You mean
to legalize.
so the paperwork part or the house part or?
The house.
there needs to be fire separation between the living units. So
Okay.
the way that particular bachelor was constructed was, it satisfied the fire separation issue.
And you need to have egress as well, right? So you can't have a basement with no windows, right? So in the case of a fire, someone has to be able to get out, right?
Yeah,
So there was multiple entrances, right? A side entrance and then the front entrance, right? So in case of a fire, people can get out. And I think there's window requirements as well, which we passed. And so but you got to be careful if you're working in other municipalities. You gotta know the municipality you're working in.
Right.
And so I guess we could have checked that out beforehand, but we kind of we were like, it's pretty good.
So sometimes you have to jump in and just make it happen.
Well, yeah, you got to do as much due diligence as possible, but you got to be ready to pull the trigger.
And we did learn on the fly a little bit there too, right? There were,
sure.
But
again, back to the due diligence, and I've subsequently I've read lots of real estate books, and you really should double your budget and double the time it takes you.
Yes.
Because you don't want to be going in this, with a small margin, because especially if it's your first time, because things did go wrong. It took us twice as long, pretty much double their budget, maybe even more.
Right.
But again, back to the numbers, it made sense.
It made sense. But if somebody went in with only X amount of money, no more, they can get themselves into a jam.
Ooh, big trouble. Well, that's where, other real estate investors pick up properties like that. Someone screwed up somewhere
Yeah.
and they lost it, and now they're in trouble, and, someone's getting the cheap property. So, it's all in a cycle. But yeah, you really got to do your due diligence, or have people that do it for you, right? So
when you put the legal apartment in, going from illegal to legal, does that add value? And if so, about how much do you think it adds?
a lot.
Well, one of the things that I said to Spencer, I've been involved in selling some rental properties, and if you can claim legal status of a rental building,
Right.
then potential buyers of that property are going to be more attracted to it because they know you've done what is necessary to make it a safe property for the tenants.
Yeah.
And so you typically get more money faster when you go to sell. So that was one of the things that I was presenting to Spencer in terms of why we need to legalize. But more often, if you want to have some altruistic thoughts too when you're you want people to be safe. You want to do a good job. You don't want anybody to be talking ill of you as a landlord.
Right.
So these are things that are aren't monetary, but they're important to me, and I think important to Spencer too. So
Yeah.
Well, important to everyone in the community, really.
I think so. Yeah.
You're creating
Generally.
a safe unit for people to be living in, and
Right.
there's definitely a lack of rental units in this area.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great
Affordable housing is I think is a bit of a crisis going on right now. I know that the provincial government is going to be putting, what was it, $300 million or something into spurring affordable housing units here in Ontario. So, of course, it's election year, so money's
course.
being thrown
But
thrown around.
as you know, Jeff, on top of the perceived value, you could say, when people are looking at the home, because it's only worth what someone buys it for, right?
Yeah.
But the mortgage company will recognize that income when it's a legal apartment.
Of course. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when it's illegal, they won't recognize it. So that helps you in refinancing.
Or if you're selling, a first-time home buyer can qualify easier for it.
Exactly.
And it goes on to insurance as well, because you start talking to an insurance company if they're asking if it's a rental apartment with more than one unit in it, they want to make sure it's legal as well. And
That makes sense.
Fire checked. Yeah.
Okay, now we're going to be taking a break in just a moment. But a question I've got for you that we'll come back to is, what would be the number one tip you could have, or you would have, for a wannabe investor? So someone who wants to get into the market. All right, so we'll think
Just
about
one?
that. Yeah, number one tip. All right, we'll be right back. This is Jeff Delgrand, Closing Day. We'll see you in a moment. Welcome back. I'm Jeff Delgrand. This is Closing Day. And with me today, I've got Sandy Brown, real estate agent with RE/MAX, and Spencer Brown. And we're talking about real estate investing, but in a more in-depth way. And Sandy and Spencer have done an amazing job with an investment where we just talked about you bought a home, you legalized the apartment in it. I want to talk a little bit about the work you had to do. And then you also made another step where you did a severance. So I want to cover that as well, because that's really getting into stuff that's a little more in depth, but something that everybody can achieve. So, but let's talk about the work in the home. You mentioned, Spencer, make sure you have twice as much money as you thought you needed and twice as much time. That's a really good tip.
Right.
Now, what about the work itself? Did you hire people in? Did you do it all yourself? Where did you end up with that?
Well, my advice is if you're not able to bring in some sweat equity in something like that, it's very difficult to control costs and to make money, because to bring in skilled tradespeople, they're all getting paid $30, $40, $50, $60, $70 an hour.
Oh,
and
easy,
that can run up in a hurry, especially if there's a problem along the way, and it's difficult. So we were able to bring in some qualified help that allowed us to do some of the work as well.
Yeah.
One of the things that we did, we added another half bathroom on the ground floor. The larger unit had no bathroom on the ground floor, and I know from my real estate dealings that if you don't have a bathroom on the ground floor of a house, it's difficult, right? So you know, you're sending your guests, you know, upstairs, and so we added that. We redid the kitchen, which needed help. We completely rewired the whole house. So from a safety standpoint, that was important to do that, and we spent a lot of time and energy on insulation as well. So energy efficiency.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
Yeah, the electrical was unexpected, and
Yeah.
we ended up figuring out a way to do it for cheaper. But yeah, I got some really high quotes, right?
Yeah.
I guess that's another tip, is get 3 quotes, because you'd be surprised at the difference between 3 quotes.
That's an excellent tip.
Yeah, like seriously, do it. Yeah, you'd be really surprised. Like, you can get them for half as much, right?
Right.
And on a big thing like electrical, like rewiring a house, right? We had like I think a $12,000 quote. It was like,
Wow.
whoa, like I think I'm going to start reading an electrical book. So we ended up, and networking is another good tip. You know, an electrician that knew my brother, we got in contact with him, and I ended up working with him as his like laborer, basically.
Oh, okay.
And so we figured out a way to do it for a lot cheaper, right? So that's another thing. Like, things come up, and you know, you can't throw your hands up. You got to just kind of try to figure it out.
So be prepared to do your homework and get in some sweat equity. In other words, get your hands dirty. You're going to get in there and
For sure. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, you got to have some form of sweat equity, right? And knowledge can be one, right? Like the severance, right? That was expert knowledge that.
Yeah,
you know,
most people don't understand what a severance is, so maybe explain that to us.
Well, this was an interesting one, because the particular home that we purchased was in what's called the Central Business District of Shelburne.
Right.
And planning departments, they look at something called an official plan, which the local municipality has to do every 5 years, and it talks about how they're going to grow and what the land use is going to be within the municipality, and they rewrite this every 5 years. So in the case of the Central Business District, they were pushing for infill,
Right.
or new builds and increased intensification, more units in the same.
And this is province-wide as well.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Ontario's pushing for this.
And
Yeah.
it just so happened this house was right on the borderline between the Central Business District and another zoning area within the town. So when we went to the planning director, had a meeting with him, and we laid out what our thoughts were, he said, yeah, I think we can make this work. Now, certain zoning criteria, certain zones within residential zoning have a size restriction on the size of lot, or minimum lot size.
Right.
And so not only did we sever, but we had to rezone in order to get a smaller lot.
Okay.
So it was quite a process in understanding it and working with the town. And
Now, do you hire someone to help you with that, or did you just read up and do it yourself?
A combination, I guess. Reading is
pretty key.
Pretty key. If you're not sure, there's so much information available.
Yeah.
You
nowadays.
know, you were talking before the break about advice, and one thing is, I think you got to, in my opinion, you got to act honestly and with integrity as you make your decisions. And
Yes.
to surround yourself with people that think the same way.
Yeah.
And that goes for your mortgage person, your insurance person. We used a local survey company who has a very good reputation, who works with the municipality all the time, and so working with people that already have built a respect level within the particular area of expertise they have is important. And that I think that's a key ingredient. You've got to surround yourself with people that you can trust and that are respected, in the area of expertise that they have. So.
Yeah, you have to build a network and understand what you can do and what you can't do.
And hire in the experience when you have to.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
But
I guess back to the due diligence. I wasn't sure on the severance. We weren't sure on the severance. So
okay.
It still worked without the severance, right? So we weren't.
All right. So it's like a backup plan almost.
Yeah, I was hoping we were going to get it.
Yeah. Okay.
And we were lucky enough too. Or I shouldn't say lucky, but we got it.
Yeah.
It's not a beginner thing. I wouldn't go out and say how I'm gonna
do a severance
right off the bat. But it can be done, and the province wants it to be done, and the municipalities want it to be done as well. So it is out there. But yeah, you should hire some help for that for sure.
Okay. Now get some idea of numbers. About how much did the house start at? Your purchase price. What do you think the end value would be with everything once you got the final house built?
We bought the house for...
If you don't mind disclosing.
No,
I don't want to put you on the spot.
It's public knowledge, I guess, really, what we bought it for. We bought it for $250,000.
Yeah.
We think that based on cap rates in the residential market, that the house is now worth about $450,000.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah. The lot is worth $80,000 to $100,000 that we severed.
Right.
And we've got a budget of about $250,000 to build the second house, and when it's finished, it's going to be worth again about $450,000 or more. So I think, what did we figure? We're going to have about $560,000 into it, maybe.
Well, let's add a bit for contingency or whatever. But let's say I'm pretty certain we're going to do everything for about $600,000, and those two houses will be worth about $900,000.
Yeah. So you'll have two. If you separate them, you put $300,000 into two lots, and you're getting $450,000. So $150,000, let's say, profit, for lack of a better word, at the very moment, on each lot.
That's right.
Two times
Plus
over.
positive cash flow out of all four of these units, right? That's what's we're going to result with.
So there's a couple ways to look at it. One that I like to is we basically bought those properties. We bought them let's say, the full value will be realized in a year from now.
Right.
We basically bought it like a 65% discount or 66% discount, right?
Okay.
So that's great, right? Most people pay 100%. So you got to use your connections, your special knowledge. You got to find some way, right? So the severance, we fixed it up. We added a bedroom. We added a bathroom. We legalized it, and then we're building a whole other house, right?
So,
and we're contracting some of it ourselves. We're going to do some work ourselves. So
that's a great return on your investment.
Yeah.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you could rent it out of positive cash flow. You could refinance it, get all your money back out. You could sell it, move on to the next one.
Yeah. That's a key,
Tons
right?
of options, right?
Back to the due diligence, right? I made sure. Well, we talked about multiple exit strategies, right? We could flip to sell. We could rent. If the severance doesn't work out, we're not screwed.
Right.
We got enough budget in there to deal with that.
And I've told Spencer that this is an unusual situation. It turned out to be a win-win-win, right, all along.
Yeah.
It's not the usual situation.
Right.
I'm sure. I know.
Yeah.
You've talked to other people that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't work out so
sure.
well, but you've got to do your homework. Yeah.
So that gets us to the next question, which we left at the end of the first part, was the number one tip you would have for a wannabe investor. So who wants to field that question first? Because we get two people, two answers.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I think just getting knowledge, right? You can get it from a number of different sources.
Yeah.
I listen to podcasts, I read books, and I network, right? Lucky enough, I had my dad who's an expert in the field, right? But there's other people that are experts that you can talk to.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised once you start looking what you'll find. And so I think in aggregate, when you're looking at this, a beginner who's hearing this for the first time is going to think this is a foreign language, right? But
Right.
you know, I was a beginner a year and a half ago, right, or 2 years ago, right, and I had some prior, you know, spreadsheets and investment experience, but not a whole lot. So you just got to break down piece by piece by piece by piece, and you know, 5 years from now or 10 years from now, you're going to think back like, oh, you know, that's how I did it, or
Right.
step by
One
step,
step
by
at a time.
One step at a time.
Right.
All right. And how about you, Sandy? What would
Well, I mentioned it earlier. You have to surround yourself with competent, reliable people with integrity, right? I think that's key. So
yeah.
if, you know, there's a saying out there, you know, good guys finish last, you know, but that you don't have to, you know, good guys
No.
can finish first, and they can. So you've got to treat the people that you're dealing with respect, tenants, and you know, everybody that you deal with. So I think that would be my key piece of advice.
And that goes back to networking too, right? Like treat people well and network, and you'll
Yeah.
you'll learn.
You said you did your homework. It sounds like you asked lots of questions, lots of reading. And now it's the whole thing. When you say to somebody, you know, I bought a place for $250,000 and now it's worth $900, is overwhelming. But now that you sort of walked us through step by step, did you have this end vision in mind as good as it was going to be, or was it a little bit more modest to start with?
Yeah, still modest, and
Yeah.
you know, full disclosure, we haven't built the house yet, right?
Right.
So, you know, things could happen.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it went well. Like, but we
We
still
think-
have to keep you know, keep our diligence.
I
Right.
think we both think that we're of above average intelligence, so that we're not going to get ourselves into difficulty. And you have to have your financing straight, because if you get into a tight spot, that's when mistakes are made on integrity, and mistakes are made on you know, that cause
that's-
deeper problems.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank you guys very much for coming out. Sandy Brown from RE/MAX and Spencer Brown. And I'd like to thank all of you for watching and viewing in. And this is Jeff Del Grand signing out for Closing Day.